voice from heaven saying, Thou art my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Now look, again, we are in the first century. Put ourselves in the first century. We receiving this letter from Mark, Matthew, Luke, and we reading this here. And now he is addressing this one that's coming from no mean city, coming from a village that wasn't on the map. I mean, just a sorry place that even the apostles had to ask was, can any good thing come out of Nazareth? So he's addressing the coming of this one. And he described him, or a witness to describe who he was a voice from the heavens, declaring, my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Well, there's a history behind the Son before we go further. I would like to address it. That will paint the picture to people who are, especially the poor and the oppressed. This is going to paint a picture to them of relief. Oh, the beloved Son. Well, who is the beloved Son? In light of, again, I have to keep bringing it in my face because it's relative to me. In light of the Sanhedrin aristocrats who oppressed, using the law of Moses to oppress. On top of them, you had Imperial Rome, occupied Judea, oppressing. Again, as I said over and over again since we've been doing these topics, they wanted relief. So now, Mark letting us know, oh, the beloved Son has come, in whom Yahweh is well pleased. Now, I would like to go to Psalms chapter 2. Let's see what kind of picture we could paint in the eyes of these poor and oppressed people. Okay? Poor and oppressed. Reading the scriptures, waiting for the Redeemer from the dynasty of David to arrive. Here, Psalms 2. And I'll start reading at verse 6. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. The Lord hath said unto me, Thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee. Now, here we have David prophetically speaking of the Son who was begotten of the Father. And this is what he's going to add concerning this Son in this prophetic language. That this is what will come to our mind when you read Mark chapter 1, where he's seen the Spirit or voice from the heavens saying, Thou art my beloved Son. And this is probably what come into the reader's mind. Thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. So we're looking for this Son. Verse 8. Ask of me, and I will give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the utmost parts of the earth for thy possession. Wait a minute now. The beloved Son, painting again within our minds a ruler to sit on the dynasty of David, who is to do what? Receive for an inheritance the powers of the heathen or the nations. Just so happened as it's the nations who is oppressing the people. And the beloved Son is he who is to come, who is to break the yoke of the oppression and receive the inheritance of the heathen. Verse 9. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Well, here it is now. Mark letting us know, here's the beloved Son now. And these kings, these rulers, these judges, these magistrates, these powers and principalities have done unjustly. Now the beloved Son is on the scene. This is one of the pictures that I see painted here in this glad tidings of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Political, still. Earth, dominion, rulership, relief from oppression on this earth, and still is not in their minds of any heavenly floating off on a cloud business, leaving this earth when you die type of relief. Okay? So, we see here, thou art my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased. That was verse 11 in Mark 1. Now I'm going to continue. Mark chapter 1. And verse 12. And immediately the Spirit driving him into the wilderness. And he was there in the wilderness 40 days, tempted of Satan, and was with wild beasts, and the angels ministered unto him. All right. So what had happened here so far? We started in verse 9. And verse 10 let us know that the Messiah was baptized. He came up out of the water, and John seen the Spirit talking about this beloved son. Now what else is interesting to me is because what I understand, the Messiah, he didn't commit sin like we committed it. I mean, he didn't commit any sin. We're sinners. What was the purpose of his baptism? Not only will I say that it is a pattern for us to follow, because, you know, I mean, you have some guys now say, you only have to be baptized by water. You know, that's really something. That's some dangerous stuff. You shouldn't throw stuff out. Just do it, man. You know. But however, we seeing it more, I see it more than just a pattern, okay, we go get dunked in water. But it's something that took place, I think, here. When the Messiah was baptized. And then the Spirit came and pronounced this son, who was to inherit the reigns of the heathen, according to David, and the utmost parts of the earth for his possession. Well, you know, at this time, this was the first time that I know of that publicly, this was to begin Jesus' public ministry of renouncing and confronting the oppressive structures that existed in that day. This was to begin his public ministry. Through these days that is ahead of him, this is what's going to put his life on the line. This is what is eventually is going to cause him to be executed. A direct confrontation with the powers. So it's like, in one sense, he grew in power with God and with man, and now to suffer all righteousness to be fulfilled. Symbolically, he went through this baptism, a symbolic show of putting off the lust of the flesh. Well, if you're going to completely put off the lust of the flesh, then maybe you have to get rid of the order that produces systemic evils and encourage unlawfulness and lust of the flesh in society. You're talking about a tearing down of the old order. And this is what he began to do after his baptism. After his baptism, this began to be his mission. At one heck of a time, too. All right? You know. So, said he went into the wilderness. I want to look at that a little further. Let's go on to Luke chapter 4. Now the privileged, the power elite, now he's going to confront them. I read some other literature when they were talking about this, and he said, you know, in essence, at this time, Jesus really, in so many words, became an outlaw. This is when he's going to begin to publicly oppose the powers that be. So, Luke 4. Now, before he began his ministry in full, he was baptized, showing himself to fulfill all righteousness, and in turn, he didn't sin with the lust of the old world, but however, It is his duty, as well as he has shown us, it is our duty to totally cleanse ourselves from the old world. And when you have people cleanse themselves from the old world, what does that do? Let's make it easy. If everyone cleansed themselves from the old world, then it wouldn't be no more old world, would it? The old world gonna collapse, wouldn't it? Wouldn't even exist no more. It wouldn't even exist. So him bucking against the old world, in essence, is the same thing we're doing when we say we're putting off the old man, the lust of the flesh. Collectively, when you have a society of people to do that, then you destroy the old order which existed. And this is what the Messiah began to do. And this is our mission to do. This is just symbolically through our baptism. This is what this is showing. Mark 12 and 13 led us into the wilderness. Okay? And so he was there tempted of Satan. I want to look at this a little bit further. Luke 4, and I'll start reading at verse 1. Luke 4 and verse 1. Uh-oh, I lost my page for a minute. Or actually, I didn't turn there right away. So, Luke 4 and 1. It reads, "And Jesus, being full of the Holy Ghost, returned from Jordan and was led by the Spirit into the wilderness, being 40 days tempted of the devil. And in those days he did eat nothing. When they were ended, he afterward hungered." Well, I don't know if it's done purposely, but again, this paints another picture for us. If we understand the scriptures historically, or if we just have read them, who does this paint the picture of? Wasn't this with Moses, who did the same thing when he had brought the children of Israel out of the old order, the old world? He was in the wilderness, and there he went up to receive the instructions to bring in the new order, the new world. And here he was, 40 days and 40 nights, didn't eat nothing. Who else does this bring into play? Elijah. From my understanding, Elijah did the same thing. Elijah was doing the same thing. He was going against the order of Jerusalem in that day, who was influenced by the oppressors of Jezebel's people. And she came in trying to kill and change everything. And Elijah withstood her with the sons of the prophets in the wilderness. You know, so this is painting a picture. Again, I mean, I'm using these words. Some people may say it's radical, but I mean, I just want to put it where it is. The teaching of the Holy Scriptures and whatever you would call Christianity, it's radical. Okay? I mean, it's words that people begin to be afraid of. It's revolution. Revolution is change. That's what a revolution is. It is a tearing down. It is a change. And this is what John and the Messiah and the apostles were doing, making change. Revolution was their word of the day. So, again, in the wilderness, being hungry, he tempted now. Showing us, again, the pattern of John. I mean, showing us the pattern. Well, John was in the wilderness too. But this is showing us the pattern of Elijah and Moses, dwelling in that wilderness 40 days. Not eating nothing. But notice this now, the tempter. Verse 3, "And the devil said unto him, If thou be the Son of God, command this stone that it be made bread. And Jesus answering him, saying, It is written that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of God. Every word of Yahweh man shall live by." Now, what is he dealing with here? Notice what he said. If thou be the Son of God. If you be somebody. Now this is important because as we continue through these Gospels, we're going to see the reflection in the temptations, these same principal temptations in and out of the ministry of the Messiah and his disciples. And we're going to just touch on a few of them to show you. But God willing, we go